Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, June 24th, 2021. And our top story today, prepping for an Independence Day getaway. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Ellen Edmonds of AAA. Ellen, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you and things since we last spoke. We'll talk about gas prices in a minute, but the Colonial Pipeline has reopened. We were talking about gas prices and the effect of the hack. Now we're going to talk about July 4th. It's America's 245th birthday on July 4th. And with that now comes some travel advisories. AAA just issued theirs. What can you tell us about travel to be expected during the holiday weekend?
Yeah, sure. So people are very ready to celebrate America's birthday. We are projecting 47.7 million Americans will travel this July 4th holiday weekend. And what's interesting about that is it's actually the second highest volume we've seen, only trailing behind 2019. So of course, it's about a 40% increase over last year. That's not really too surprising, but it is the second largest year on record since we've been tracking the numbers. So people are very ready to get out. A majority, about 91%, are going to be traveling by car. People still love the road trip. It kind of saw a rebirth last summer when people couldn't fly and take cruises and some of that more traditional travel. So people are taking to the roads, heading out, and they're going to enjoy this July 4th holiday.
Yeah, and what a difference a year makes, right? I mean, we have people who are vaccinated, they've been taking the right precautions, they're going places with their families, kind of reuniting, and it feels so good. What can you tell us about gas prices? We're recording this obviously before the holiday weekend, so obviously this is not predictive of what prices will be, but have you seen things lower post Memorial Day and post Colonial Pipeline hack?
So they did continue to trend upward slightly, but it hasn't been a huge increase. So right now, the national average is $3.07. That's actually only about 3 cents higher than last month. So considering we had the hack and some other issues with getting fuel where it needed to go because of a shortage of drivers, it really hasn't increased that much. And the demand has actually increased quite a bit. So even with that, drivers really aren't seeing a huge increase at the pump. It may go up a few more cents before July 4th as we go into that holiday weekend and that demand increases. But, the stock supply is pretty good. We've been building it for about 4 weeks. So there's plenty of gas. So it probably will help kind of keep prices tamped down. So I think drivers can rely on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about planning. My mom was going to go visit my brother up in Boston. She stopped in the local AAA in Maryland to get her trip tick. Things to be thinking about as you're planning getting on the road. When we talk to you and some of your other colleagues, it's like calling ahead, finding out where you're going. But what's the latest there in terms of planning and what should we be aware of?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's all about planning, and a trip tick is a perfect place to start. It can get you really excited for your trip. They're digital now, so they've joined the 21st century. Still an excellent tool. I remember when they were printed. So, but you can use that to plan out your route, pick out different things you want to do along the way, and of course once you get to your destination. And then also it can help you plan with hotels. You're going to want to make sure we're about 2 weeks out from the holidays, so you probably should be looking at those hotel reservations. I'm sure everyone's heard there's a car rental shortage, so you need to take that into consideration if you're thinking about renting a car when you get to your destination. So the earlier, the better as far as planning, because if you're thinking about a vacation, as I mentioned, 47.7 million other Americans are as well. So you want to be prepared. It would be awful to be dreaming of that vacation after so long of being at home and then not being able to take it because of a lack of planning. And that goes for your car too. With the road trips, as I said, quite a few people are going to be out on the road. The last thing you want is to be stranded with some sort of issue with your car. So you want to make sure to pay attention to that as well when you're planning.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more about that in the second segment. Also, probably important to be aware of mask mandates, right? We still haven't seen that completely lifted in areas, though it seems to be going away in a lot of places. But you probably need to be aware hotels or businesses, they can set their own standards, so they can decide whether or not they want customers that wear a mask. That's probably important. I assume you'll be able to find that on the AAA or the hotel website.
That's correct. Yeah, we actually have a COVID restriction travel map that has quite a bit of information regarding restrictions in different areas. So you can use that as a resource and then agree. I would call ahead to your hotel, any other areas, if you're going to visit a theme park. I know some of the theme parks here in Orlando have relaxed their mask requirements quite a bit. That may not be true in other states. So you want to be sure to really have an idea of what to expect once you get there. And then make sure to bring those supplies with you. Bring extra masks, bring the cleaning supplies. You still want to take those precautions, even though we are feeling a little bit like things are maybe getting back to normal. COVID is still a real threat. So people want to be sure to, make sure that they're prepared when they're traveling to whatever area and however means they're getting there.
Yeah. Well, Ellen, I need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about getting that car prepped and ready to hit the road for the July 4th holiday weekend. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Ellen Edmonds of AAA. Ellen, thanks for staying with us.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's great to chat with you, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing insights into AAA's forecast or look at to the July 4th holiday. Let's talk about getting that car prepped and ready. You don't want to wind up like the Griswolds in the original Vacation series, losing hubcaps, going through the wrong parts of town, etc. How do we keep our cars ready for the road?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as fun as that is to watch with the Griswolds, you don't want that to happen to you. Several parts of the country last week had some extreme temperatures, and I think we're going to just continue to see, temperatures rising as we get more into the heart of summer. So heat can really wreak havoc on your vehicle, especially if you're about to set out on a long road trip. So you absolutely want to make sure you check some of the really key components. And so that starts with the battery. Heat and vibration, that combination can just really destroy a battery. So you want to make sure the battery is securely mounted. The terminals are clean of any kind of corrosion. And if you're not comfortable, some of that you can actually do yourself. But if you're not comfortable, you can take it to your local repair shop and have them take a look for you just to make sure everything's sort of in place. Also checking the health of the battery, making sure you have enough life left in it. Most vehicle batteries last from about 3 to 5 years. So if you're kind of creeping up on that 3-year mark, you definitely want to get it checked out because, again, the last thing you want is to be stuck on the side of the road with a dead battery, especially in some extreme heat. Another thing to think about is your engine. An overheated engine can be a really dangerous situation when you're out on the road. So you just want to make sure your coolant levels are correct, and you only want to check those when the engine is completely cold. Don't do it right after you've been driving. You want to have your car sitting for a little while before you check that. Make sure all those levels are where they should be. Make sure there's no engine lights on, the car's running as it should. And then finally, the tires. Tire pressure is greatly impacted by heat. And so the last thing, again, you want to do is be on the road on underinflated tires. So you want to check your tire pressure. That information, it's very handy. It's right on the inside door jamb of your car. Some people think it's printed on the sidewall of the tire. That's not true. So definitely don't go by that number. Go by the one inside your door. And if you can't find it there, it's on your owner's manual. And then you just want to get the pressure to where it's supposed to be. And finally, the tread. That's another really important part of the tire. We have kind of a nifty trick. You take a quarter and you insert it with Washington's head down into the tread. And if you can see over the top of his head, it's probably time to get new tires. So, those 3 things are really the most important that you want to make sure are in the best working order. But of course, you want to get everything else kind of checked out before you hit the road. Make sure all the fluids are topped off, your headlights are working correctly, the AC is working. Gosh, you don't want to be out on the road and, having to have all your windows down and sweating if it's real hot out. So, a visit to your local trusted mechanic. We have approved auto repair shops in AAA. So those are a great resource as well. But definitely just take that extra time as part of your planning to get your car checked out.
Yeah, it's good to know that the first president of our country is still serving a purpose almost 200 and some odd years later. Let's talk about cicadas. You mentioned overheating, and there are parts of the country where I think there's come out every 17 years. I was talking to my parents in Baltimore. I remember them. They're some hideously looking creatures. Please, I don't want to kill them. I just think they look hideous. But they can really be an impediment to cooling the car. You probably want to make sure that you have your airways, different pathways in the car cleaned if you live in a cicada full area.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have quite a few creatures here in Florida, but luckily not cicadas. But I have heard some colleagues that live in DC, and I know that they can be pretty much a pest, including your car. So they're actually attracted to heat. So when your car's running, they sort of gravitate towards the front grille of the car, and then they kind of make their way in. So like you said, they can get into all sorts of different parts of your car, clog things up. You may not even realize it. So you definitely want to make sure, there's air filters in your car that can be checked and cleaned and changed to help sort of offset some of that. But it's definitely, if you're in an area where you've seen a really heavy migration of the cicadas, you'll want to get your car checked out and make sure you didn't get a few kind of stuck in the grill or even a little further in, and they're wreaking a different kind of havoc than they might be at your home or around your business.
Yeah, not fun to deal with. Although I remember as a kid collecting the little shells from where they, I guess, were born from. In terms of getting back out on the road, and a lot of people haven't been driving a lot. Maybe they're driving a little bit more, post-COVID, or at least things have been reopening, driving a little bit more. I got to think that people need to maybe brush up a little bit on the travel, have the stamina to go long distances, pretty important. But also when you get out on the road, roads possibly could have changed. Maybe the tolls went up. I mean, I got to think that there are things that you really have to reacclimate yourself back to if you're going to hit the road again this weekend or that weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, something to take into consideration also is like you said, get plenty of rest before you head out, leave at a reasonable time in the morning, take breaks every 2 hours, get out, stretch your legs, maybe get something to eat. And then when you really start to feel worn down, you should probably stop and take a more extended break, because the last thing you want to do is kind of fall asleep or get too drowsy while you're driving. But yes, you want to check, like we said, the Trip Tick's a great resource for that. You can see kind of what's going on the road. Have there been tolls added? Have they increased? And then I would also suggest that people remember to be patient and kind to their other drivers. I think recently we've seen some incidents with road rage, some really serious things that have happened. And with all of, these Americans heading out for July 4th onto the roads, just remember we're all Americans, and, be kind to one another, be patient. Sometimes we may get over without our blinker, or we might make a mistake, but just, give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and just be courteous as you're traveling out there, because we all want to get to our destination safely.
Yeah, good words of wisdom, especially in light of having all of us gone through this horrific pandemic, the financial implications, the health implications. Last question, we had Janet Ruiz from the Insurance Information Institute on last week. I would imagine, you're not an insurance expert, but cars, insurance, probably want to make sure that you have all your coverages up to date, your car is covered, you have the right premium, you're paying your premiums, that your company knows that now you're doing a little bit more mileage.
Yeah, definitely. We, of course, would always recommend that you have your car fully covered and make sure you've got the right coverage that meets your needs. Different states have different requirements, so it's really important. The best advice I could give someone is to just, get in touch with your insurance agent, let them know, maybe I haven't been driving as much this last year. I'm going to be driving more. I'm going out on a long trip, whatever the situation is, and just you make sure they know how your situation has changed and make sure that your coverage meets those needs. So you definitely want to consult with them. They're the expert. They know exactly what your state requires. If you have a lease versus an owned vehicle, even those requirements are different. So if you have a teen driver, I know I'm about to have one. So all those things come into play when you're talking about your car insurance coverage. And it's important to make sure that you have what you need, especially if you're going to be traveling a long distance and away from home for several days. You don't want to get somewhere unfamiliar and not be able to take care of those needs.
Yeah, and you may be one of those Americans who relocated during the pandemic. I'm going to raise my hand. My wife and I did recently relocate. Well, Ellen, we're going to have to leave it there. Great information. I think people are armed and ready. I don't know if that's a good metaphor or not. I don't mean it in a negative way. Armed and ready with information to hit that road. Great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program again this morning.
Yep. Thank you so much.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. We're back again tomorrow for another exciting and educational edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.